Okay, I'm just gonna send the link and then give it a second so you guys can come in. And yeah, we'll get started on Watchpoint Gibraltar. Is going to be the first one that I'm covering, plainly because it's a nice dive map, and it is going to show clear it's going to show three things basically. Firstly, it's either going to show clear compositional problems, and that might be coming down to who's playing. It might show clear comms problems as well. Dive is a really good comp for displaying what comms kind of go wrong, and then it can just show individual skill on certain heroes, such like Monkey, Brig, stuff like that, Ana, because realistically you don't play those characters in other comps, and so or they're played so differently in this kind of comp. I will be looking at the DPS a lot more, considering it's a dive, and so dive is heavily comms based. You do need to have your comms going pretty confidently, pretty strong, and yeah, hopefully we'll see some comms issues arise or something like that. I know at this point it was your third map and you'd been bickering, so I'm not expecting it to go amazing, but I hope that you can all kind of learn from it anyway. Okay, you're all the way over there. First off, on the defense, I don't know what your dive is like, so on the attack, I don't really. Obviously, you've not attacked yet. I don't know if you played dive on the previous maps, but on this map, you're fine running this Orisa Diva comp. The important thing is that you know how to play it, what to kind of respect on the other team. The support line's fine. I'm hoping Unflux switches off the Bastion, which I'm certain he will do. But yeah, this comp works fine. You basically, on the Orisa Diva comp, you want to hold this high ground. Cart can go below, and then basically as soon as Cart is underneath you, you can rotate to here and play... Sorry, you can play above them, or you can play in server. Or even you can play this corner. Like, it's good for playing corners, and it's also good for playing like lower ground corners as well, because the Diva can contest the high ground. The weakness with this comp is if they run, and when they run a dive, they're going to be running a dive onto your Ashe. They're going to be looking to dive your Ashe Mercy, who's probably going to be set up on blue box or set up over here on this box on this high ground, which is much harder for like Orisa to counter dive. An Orisa can't counter dive, a soldier can't counter dive, BAP's not going to do much for an Ashe stood up here, and so it's really, really key that your Diva is aware of where the dive's happening, because Mac, you're basically going to have to fly in and pressure that Monkey at all times, although I can see they're on Ball. Ball and Monkey working very similarly. Mac's still the one who wants to be pressuring it. Unflux as well, considering he's on the soldier. He's going to be wanting to pressure that Ball and getting a bit poke damage in. Abra really wants to be looking for headshots onto key characters. So, oh, what the fuck is this? Okay, I don't like this. Okay, so clearly you were using a code. Completely useless. I don't need to know your stats. I think that's damage. I don't even know what any of that means, but I don't need to know your stats to be able to tell you you're doing bad. So, off the get-go, none of you have looked this way to start with. So, the Genji and the Reaper are already walking up behind you. It's very, very important that even if it's just Mac doing it, even if it's like, especially actually Saren, you need to be watching this, because a good thing to do on yeah, I assumed you didn't set up lobby because it's a code. I'm assuming it's for them for when they do VOD reviews, which I doubt they ever do. But yeah, Saren, be watching your flanks. Same with Jasper. You want to be watching your flanks all times. You're the supports. If they flank, they're going to be going for you. So it's a really like good habit just to be aware of your flanks. Even if you check it once every often. I've got a few clips of me playing Baptiste where I've just checked flanks, checked like off angles, checked flanks, checked areas where enemies could be, but not. I don't really expect them to be there. But if they are there, then it stops them from getting onto me. This is a perfect example of that. So Mac especially, you should be stood here anyway. Mac, from the start, you should just be denying this high ground. On D.Va, you can stand up here for free, and if their D.Va flies up to contest you, you can boosters out. And then she's wasted her boosters to get here, kind of thing. But this Reaper's most likely going to walk in. Saren, just, yeah, awareness of that Reaper. Also, hearing your footsteps behind you, because the Reaper's obviously stood behind you. And yeah, general setup, though, is fine. Unflux and Mini playing this ground here is okay. Obviously, you don't know what comp they're on yet, because it's 15 seconds in. It's at 3:45, you'll be able to see what composition they're running exactly. So any characters you've not seen so far, you're not going to be able to see. But they're running a really offensive comp, running the Zen. So we'll see how it plays out. Yeah, immediately Saren is under threat, and that's 2 cooldowns being used. Just perfect. Both your Baptiste cooldowns being wasted, basically, because you didn't check for the Reaper. Nice reactions from Mac, though, just denying the kill, but yeah, realistically, he shouldn't have been able to get there in the first place. Because now, you see what you're doing here, you're keeping him away just by looking at him, and that's good enough. Their dive has come through, that's a nice anti onto Unflux. If you get chance, Unflux, just turn and run. I imagine Unflux is going to get picked by the Genji here. Mac, what you want to be doing here is not DMing their team, but DMing your team. So, I've brought it up before, you want to be DMing Unflux and Mini. Because Unflux probably dies, but if you've got that DM on him, none of these 3 characters can shoot at him. Nobody here can hit him if you've got DM on him, and he might be able to get away, especially because he's speedy fast. Same with Mini. Mini's taking a big chunk of damage now. I can imagine, especially off the D.Va, he's going to be taking some damage, and yeah, he's going to be probably chunked down quite a bit. I do see you aiming at it, but yeah, I think Unflux was a little out of position, stood down here. He should have been playing the high ground, but it's a tiny mistake. It's literally like a small thing. The only thing I'd say is just on that initial Mac, when you see the dive come in, don't look to DM them, look to DM your teammates, because your teammates are the ones getting shot at. So just quickly think, you know your soldiers here, you know your Ashes here. If they're diving down here, they're going for your shoulders. They're going for your soldier most likely. If they're diving up here, they're most likely going for your Ash, and so then you know who to DM in that moment. Yeah, a nice little backup. I like this position here, Saren. So this is where you've gone wrong, Mac. In your attempt to try and save Unflux 10 minutes after he's died, you've flown into a small room against 3 people when your team are all out here. This the problem with this composition is the fact of you have to really know your positioning. It relies so heavily on your positioning and where you stand and where you play to win fights, and so as soon as you go out of position, you're going to get punished. So I can imagine, I don't even need to know, Mac's probably going to get demeched here. Yeah, there it is. And then Mini's probably going to fall as... Oh wait, no. You've managed to find the kill onto the Genji, but Mac's lost his mech for no reason. So yeah, Mac, just be careful about boostering into small rooms, and just be careful about using your boosters before you think about, why am I boostering here? What am I boostering for? Because there was no one to protect down there, and you couldn't kill any of them. They were full health, or at least half health, and you still, I don't think you'd be able to finish any of them off. And then yeah, Mac's fallen here. It's really hard to look at the kill feed when there's so many. Here, you've got the right positioning. Mini has the opportunity to drop down. Only thing, yeah, Saren, be really aware of this Reaper TP. Same with Jasper. I mean, Jasper's stuck in the Guardian Angel animation, but the Reaper TP is probably his loudest ability. So if you don't hear his footsteps, his TP's his quietest ability. Sorry, his footsteps are really loud though. So just if you don't hear the TP itself, you'll probably hear his footsteps. And I hope I'm going to give you a chance to react. But okay, this is the problem here, Saren. He's shot 4 shots at your Ashe, and your Ashe is shot back at him, and you're still stood here. You need to look at him. You can look away from Mini. Mini's full health. You can look away for a second. You don't have to be pumping heals into him when he's full health. That's another thing. That's another habit that I still have of just healing my tanks when they're full health. One thing you can learn to do is I'm going to watch you for this, and it's probably going to be a bit harsh, but we obviously know the Reaper TP's up here. You don't really hear it, but Mini is full health here with a shield in front of him. And yeah, that's exactly what happens there. Mini doesn't need that healing. He's fine. He's got a shield, he's got Fortify, he can just walk back. And so yeah, he's completely safe from the D.Va in the ball in that situation, especially considering he's also damaging them and their lower health, and their Ana struggling to keep him up. So in this situation, you know the Reaper's behind you, you should have heard him behind you. And just try and be aware of behind you, and just looked at him and gone shit, and dropped. I probably should have dropped before he even got a chance to get close to you. He even, like, basically from that first or second shot, it should be reactionary of shit, there's a Reaper behind me, and then drop. Sometimes you don't even have to look at him. If you know he's there and you're certain he's there, just drop and rotate over here. You don't have to play high ground on Baptiste. It makes landing your shots a bit easier, but fully playing this angle especially against their composition, this angle is better. They're running a weird competition. They're running a ball dive, but they're running it with Reaper, which you don't usually see. They're running a very odd mix up on the ball composition, because realistically Reaper should get no value in this comp. But again, I'm going to go back because I know Mac got resurrected, and then that's a nice res, by the way. It's a good resurrection, and you back up. That's Saren just falling, but that's another good point, Mac. I don't know whether it was eagerness or whether you didn't realise it, but when you come back into this fight, you had a small chance to save. You could have saved Saren there. It's just that initial, as soon as you see him, DM him, because Reaper, as soon as he's in your backline, is going to want to get out. That DM there is useless. He's fading away. There's no one shooting at you. And yeah, I'm going to slow it down a bit so that it's easier just to play through. They're now resetting. You've got this low ground position. Abra's taking the high ground. Nice. I was going to say, I want to see Mac taking this high ground position, because, right, so this three up here, the three of you up here, Jasper, you can basically just stand still up here. You can stand on this corner, and as soon as you hear movement, see somebody or hear somebody, the trick on Mercy is not being able to see the enemies ever. So if you can see an enemy, you're making a mistake. I don't know if I watched it ages ago. I think it was like last year, maybe 2 years ago, where Custer did a VOD review of Moth playing Mercy, and I will try and find it actually and send it to you, because Moth playing Mercy, I think it was in the grand finals, it was King's Row, I remember it, and he literally just doesn't look at an enemy. Like, there's very, very few times where he actually looks at an enemy and realises that that enemy is there. And I don't play Mercy yet. I've watched a VOD review from Mercy, so it's really useful to know how other characters play in this game, because then you can play around them, and you can counterplay other characters in this game. And when you know what another character wants, you know how you can take that away from them. Yeah, so basically you can sit on this corner, You don't have to be flying around, you don't have to be doing anything fancy. Sitting on this corner, using your ears, and especially on Mercy, your ears are really, really valuable, you're being able to hear. But I will say, in this composition, you're fairly safe to peek them from range. Plainly because they're not going to do anything to you from range. So realistically, you don't want to meet anything. But if nobody's able to see anyone, you're able to super jump. You can, like, if let's say you're all playing down here, you know they're pushing in high ground. Considering their composition, this is strictly considering their composition. You need to think about this when you're going to do it. Okay, do they have any long range characters? Because in this composition, they could very easily have an Ashe or a Widowmaker, in which you don't want to be peeking at all. But in this composition, because they've got the Genji and the Reaper, you could be here, you can super jump on Mini to get up to this high ground, have a look, and then drop that back down. Basically, just try and get an idea of where they are, drop back down, and then it also means that you're offering more to your team, because you can call, oh yeah, they're ready, they're setting up top right, something like that. And you've also got because Mercy has a Guardian Angel on a 2-second cooldown, she can fly back to her teammate very easily. If they do try and dive you, you'll have Guardian Angel just to fly back to Mini or something like that, or back to Abra, or whoever is safest to go to. It is just like a small thing, and it is very heavily dependent on what the enemies are running. But if you keep in mind the range of their team, their whole team is ineffective at long range. Other than the Ana and the Zenyatta, their whole team is basically ineffective at long range. And so you are safe at long range. You're safe in their line of sight from long range, but you're safer out of their line of sight at all times anyway. So it is awareness thing. It's an awareness thing. This has been a whole Jasper Mercy kind of tutorial, and I will pick up on some Mercy points, because surprisingly I hate playing Mercy, but I know how to play Mercy quite well. And a lot of people don't realise it, but Mercy has a lot more skill in her than a lot of people would consider. She's got a very low skill floor, but she's got a high skill ceiling. And seeing you kind of take advantage of the skill ceiling on Mercy can literally give you an advantage over. It can literally, like, win you fights. You can win fights for your team on Mercy, believe it or not. Your supports are very able to win fights for you without having to just get kills. By just being able to give you guys resources, or being in the right position, staying alive, kind of thing. And they can carry fights just by staying alive when they shouldn't be alive, realistically. But yeah, what you're doing is fine. You're safe anyway, but yeah, you can just stand on perch on this edge. Like I was saying before, though, I like that you've taken this high ground, and you can even play a bit closer, Mac. You can play here and threaten a bit more. They're going to want to dive this, so when you're up here, Abra especially, on Ashe, know that they're going for you on the dive. Know that they're going to dive you, and if you've got your coach gun, which I know you don't because you used it to get to this high ground, but when you've got your coach gun, you want to be using your coach gun on the Reaper or the Bull. The Genji you don't really want to be using your coach gun on, because he's got his deflect, and in close range he can only really tickle you. He's not really scary in Overwatch 2. Overwatch 1, sorry, because D.Va's DM and all of that, he's really doesn't do that much. But if you can displace the Bull or the Reaper, it's a lot more effective than displacing the Genji, especially considering the Genji can just climb walls, whereas if Reaper uses TP to get to here and you coach gun him off of the high ground, he's then got to jump onto these boxes just to get back to here. Or if you manage to coach gun him off this way, depending on where he is, he can't just TP back, is the thing. Same with Bull. If Bull uses his grapple and then a pile driver to engage, and you boop him before that pile driver goes off, and he ends up down there, he doesn't have a grapple for another 3 seconds, 2 seconds, so he can't really do anything for 2 seconds, which in Overwatch is a long amount of time. He's got to then rotate all the way around, and he can't get to you. He can't offer any support to his team. He's then either got to stand on the low ground and poke out Mini, which he will lose. A 1v1, a Bull versus a Orisa should win. in a 1v1, because Orisa just can shield dance. That's basically it. Orisa has shield and fortify, and pull as well. Pull is so powerful. But yeah, there's a lot there. I'm not really looking at Unflux. I think he's rotating to this high ground, which would be okay, but knowing that you've got the Ashe on high ground, I would be more playing like off angles to protect Mini. So like playing around this Mini is really good because you can poke them from range, and if they decide to jump on Mini, because he is alone, you can still assist from distance. You don't have to be in the dive target range, and you've also got an escape in case they dive you. It's a lot of things to think about at once, but realistically your Ashe is the one that's going aggressive and doing the high ground poke, and your Ashe will want to play here instead of you. And so you being up here is good because I guess you do have that escape, but they're already resetting. So it's kind of think about the time that you've got to get to this position, considering the fight ended 5 seconds ago and they only need another 3 seconds to be able to reset. They're all there. Okay, that was a long ramble, but I hope it's covered quite a lot. There you go. So I like the coach gun use. Oops, the coach gun use is good. You do lose the high ground because of it, and Mac, when you notice that the high ground is basically lost, you can just drop. Where Mini wait, where was Mini? How was Mini killed by Zen? Okay, so yeah, this is the point, Mac, where you can just abandon the high ground, especially considering Mini should have called that this Zen is here on 1 health. This Zen should not kill Mini here. This is really unfortunate, Mini. He's just going to dink you, isn't he? Yeah. So Mac, you should have been on low ground, but realistically that is just a mistake on Mini's part. I think you disrespected the Zen and then you got fucked by him, basically. Don't disrespect the enemy players when you know they're decent, because I think this is the 3rd map, so it's very possible. I've not seen the other 2 maps yet. It's very possible that the other 2 maps you just were getting rolled by this Zenyatta, and it's very possible that this player is a very good player and you didn't respect him, and that's how they beat you. I think the best way to learn to play against good players is to assume that everybody's a good player. Don't get cocky with people, because I know he's a Zenyatta, but Zenyatta puts out a lot of damage, as you've just learned. And so yeah, Mac, you should have been on low ground, because they don't really care for high ground. You can drop to low ground and then fly back up and then drop back down and stuff like that. D.Va is really difficult in this kind of composition, or D.Va's difficult in all compositions, because she's so demanding. She's got so many things she needs to do, but your key thing is looking out for your teammates. So it's like standing here, you're not looking out for your teammates very much. You're denying them this spot to be able to dive onto that backline, but at the same time they've managed to take out Mini because one of them is pushed in here. And then Mini needs your help, Mac. D.Va is very, very centric about helping her teammates, rather than D.Va is not a big playmaker. It's not like Zarya or Sigma. You can't make very big plays on D.Va until you have like Bomb, but you can't make massive plays. It's mainly pressuring people out and protecting your teammates. And pressure is not strictly doing heavy amounts of damage or pressure isn't okay. This got explained to me a long time ago, but I think it was Jane who explained this in a VOD review. I used to watch Jane VOD reviews all the time, and so actually I'd recommend them, because he was a really good coach. He was really good. He knew what he was doing. So yeah, I'd definitely recommend you going back and having a look at one sec. Yeah, go back on, go and find like Jane's YouTube channel or something. Find some of Jane's like old VOD reviews that he did years ago. Because some of the fundamentals of Overwatch are still there. Some of the balance is the same from like 2 years ago. So yeah, I think have a look back. I think Custer Now is probably the better place to go for VOD reviews. Watching other people, other coaches do VOD reviews of other people, of pro players, of like just plat players, other people just in general. It definitely just solidifies that knowledge, you know. I'm trying to find this Moth VOD review. There you go. Okay, it's Jake. It was a Jake VOD review and it was a year ago. So I'll quickly share that. I'm gonna put that in coaching. There you go. There's the Mercy VOD review. I know it's Jake because it's watched all the way through. So yeah, have a look at that. I'm probably just gonna do the one map today, so you get a chance to think about what I go over and then can go and do something else. And we've got a scrim at 7, so we've got another hour. So I'll try and get through the rest of this a bit quicker. I do want to see you playing a bit dive. Again, Saren, you don't need to be on the high ground, but you've got Unflux protecting you. You're down by Mini. You're down Mini, but they're down their Zen. Realistically, they've still got the upper hand. They're only down Zen, and they've got closer respawns. The ball diving in here, though, Mac, you just need to abandon cart and realise that that's why it's so hard on D.Va. You need to be looking around you. This is another thing that I picked up on King's Row yesterday. Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, when I did my last VOD reviews. You need to look around you. You need to look at your teammates, and I think that's another big pickup from that's going to come from today. That I want you to kind of all do is look at your teammates, look where they are, because I don't know if Mac actually knew that Unflux and Saren were here. I don't know if Mac actually knew that Unflux and Claire, I'll actually call you by your name rather than your gamer tag because I know what your name is. Yeah. So just look around you because they are diving Unflux or Claire here, and they're probably both going to die considering they're actually committing a good dive. That's a good dive from them, in fairness. They've look at how many players there are all at the same time on Unflux. Unflux should not be alive. The reason it's a bad dive, the bad part of this dive coming through is the fact that Unflux is still alive after 3 members have already been there for 2 seconds, but he definitely dies, yeah. And yeah, this is another thing, Mac, you did turn around and look at them, but you didn't actually get there to help Unflux stay alive. And even if it's just a DM so he can run through this doorway and drop, because if they chase him he can then take that 1v1 or 1v2 easier because he's got all of this space to work with. And if they do chase him, some of them probably won't chase him. And if they all chase him, their Arna's over here. They can't get heals if they chase him, if they go past that corner. And so, that's another thing of, I know right now you might look to go onto that Arna. And if you do, that's completely respectable. Because this is probably a lost fight. And the way that you're going to bring this fight back, Mac, is by going onto their Arna and giving Abra a chance to frag on them. But I can't see that happening much. You use Bob. You know what? I'm not going to complain about the Bob use. I don't. It's not that bad. It's not good. But yeah, I've seen worse. It's not a pickup. You're fine here, actually, Mac. You're doing a good job here, contesting cart. And Mini's come in and punished that Genji for being in a bad place, and their ball makes a stupid mistake going in. You're completely safe here. Just don't fly into this room. And I'm going to say it now because I'm worried you're going to do it. Because if you fly into this room, this Reaper is alone with you. If you stay here, the Reaper has to come to you, and the Reaper's in the same room as your Mercy and Rissa, who's coming back from spawn. So you're much safer just playing cart here. And I hope that's how you stay. Just keep poking him out. Even if their D.Va flies in. This is where I'm sure you've got boosters, because you've not used it. Yeah, you've got boosters. You heard the D.Va booster from your left, and the Reaper's in front of you. You've used all your DM on the Reaper. You're better off just disengaging, just flying to your team. Once again, coming back to look at where your team is, because I doubt you knew Minnie and Jasper were here. Jasper's probably going to die to this Death Blossom. You've already lost mech because you used all your DM when the Reaper was out of range of you. And yeah, it's just... The Valkyrie, I actually like the commitment of the Valkyrie. Only problem with the Valkyrie is you've flown into a small room to do it. You could stay here and pop Valkyrie. I'm certain that you've flown towards Mac here to heal him up with Valk. Okay, how they've not killed you there, I have no idea. I like the positioning. In fairness, it's good positioning. Good positioning from all of it. Helped Minnie find the kill. You could have just Valked before you went to Mac. So you could have Valked... Oops. I know I don't really need to show you, because I'm sure you know what I mean. But you could have fully just, as soon as you've seen Mac there, as you've turned this corner, Valked here. And just, rather than Guardian Angel'd, flown up. Because the Valk gives you speed boost. So you could have just played this area. And then you're safe from everybody, basically. Everybody on the enemy team that's coming in, you're safe from right now. And Valk. Whereas you've flown into a small room where there's a Reaper. And that's the last place you want to be in. That's the last place you want to be. You don't... The Reaper, this is... Big picture again. Knowing what the enemy team wants out of you. The enemy team's running a Reaper. They want to play close range. By going into a small room, you're allowing that close range. You guys are very free to play out in the open. The composition you're playing basically counters what they're playing. You can play out in the open. You can play here freely. You can play like anywhere here for free, and they're gonna struggle to get to you. Firstly, because they've got to get to you, then kill you. But like, you've got escapes here. You've got plenty of different directions you can go in. So like, stood here, you can run around here and rotate all the way around. And they've got to chase you. They're not going to walk past this wall. That's a stupid move. They die if they go past this wall because you collapse on them when they come back. But you've gone into a small room against a Reaper. Two characters you never go in a small room against: a Reaper and a Doomfist. If they're in the room, don't go in the room. Leave the room alone. Find another way. Go the long way. Go the scenic route if you really need to. If you know there's a Reaper and a Doomfist in a small room, avoid that room at all costs. On Mercy and Baptiste. On the supports, I think for DPSs as well, if you're running the Ashe and the Soldier, you don't want to go in a small room against a Reaper and a Doom. If you're tanks, I think it's much more plausible that you can go in a small room, but still, you're just fighting them in a place that they want to take the fight. You bait them into an area, you bring them, make them come to you, make them fight you where you want to fight. You dictate where the fight is. I've said this, I think it was on Blizzard World when I did a VOD review before. Defenders choose where the fight happens, attackers choose when the fight happens. On defense, you have no choice. You have no control over where, or no control over when the fight happens. But on defense, you can choose where it happens. You can position yourself so that the fight is going to happen somewhere you want it to happen. And in tier 2, they're idiots. They're probably just going to engage on you where you want to be. They won't sorry. They won't rotate around and force you into a place where they want you to take a fight, because they're not that smart. They will just jump on you most of the time, and there you are. You've taken a fight exactly where you wanted it to. If you lose the fight, that's just because they've done a really good job on that fight. Sometimes people play better in certain fights than they do other fights, and you can't help that. But sometimes, most of the time, even if they perform really well, as long as you're performing decently and you're taking the fight where you're at an advantage already, you're going to win that fight. Just because it's an easier fight to win at that point. Yeah, unfortunate on the Valkyrie. You could have... I say unfortunate on the Valkyrie. It's not. You should have popped Valk before flying to Mac. Because you did get booped into the room by the D.Va, to be fair. But you also jumped when you got to Mac. So that's how you ended up all the way over here. If you got booped by the D.Va, you would have ended up over here, which you could have then just backed out. Whereas I know from Mercy Tech itself, when you flying towards Mac, when you got to Mac, you automatically jumped, which sent you into this corner. Which then you probably panicked and Valked, and then he Death Blossomed and you died. You could have Valked long before. You don't have to use Guardian Angel all the time. Just it is a cooldown, and cooldowns aren't all. Good lesson is cooldowns aren't always to be used when they're off cooldown. You don't have to use it because it's off cooldown. Use it when it's useful, or use it when it's best, rather than using it when it's off cooldown. So I'm going to watch a bit of Mini Mag now. Mac, what the fuck are you doing? I know you're on Baby D.Va and you think you're dead, but either contest cart or go back to Mini, because you are throwing there. I'm sorry, that sounded really, really horrible. It is, because that is stupid. I'm sure you think, I'm sure you know it's stupid, but don't do that. Think, Mac. Use your brain. Even if you're a bit annoyed, even if you're a bit irritated, if you're getting frustrated, take a breath. Don't let it affect your gameplay. Because when you get annoyed and let it affect your gameplay, let it affect how you play the game, you're automatically going to lose. You're not going to win with a loser's mindset. So yeah, oh, what's this? Depends on the comp. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Mac, you could either just contest cart and force them to play cart for a little bit and force them to focus you down, because you are a Baby D.Va, you're quite easy to kill, or you could have rotated to Mini. Either way, I think you get mech off, just stood here, basically. Because I'll be surprised if you get mech off here. Okay, you do. That ball should not have let you get that off. Nice that you're realising you need to get back to the team, though. You're not just playing in that room. This is awareness thing, Mac. I know you've just used your boosters, so I'm not going to pick up on it. But at least look at him. At least look at your team. Again, look at your teammates. Know that they're there. Because I doubt Mini and Mac know that your teammates are here, other than sound cues. You've not actually looked at them. Because you can use sound cues to get a rough idea that they're on this high ground, but where they are on this high ground is very, very different. This is a risky area, whereas this is a lot safer. If they're stood here, it's going to sound very similar to if they're stood here. Especially if you're, like, here, which is exactly where you are, Mini. They're going to sound very similar if they're in that area in general. Whereas that's unsafe and that's safe, and you can make that safe. And that's already made safe. But if by making that safe you make that not safe, and I'm not going to keep going because that's just making it more confusing. Also, just yeah, I know I'm rambling a lot in this one, but there's a lot more to learn because the team you're playing against are a lot better than the teams you've played against in the previous world reviews, which is quite nice. So I will do the other maps. Just because, yeah, exactly like I said, this team is better. Better than the other teams you've faced anyway, sorry. So yeah, the Genji goes up there. This Genji shouldn't get away with this for free, but it's fine that he's up here and he's trying to get away with it for free. He's forced both DPS out, and forced out Lamp as well, which, looking at Abra's and Unflux health, I don't think they needed. So yeah, Saren, just take into account that they don't really need Lamp unless they're half health. Maybe Unflux did and I missed it, because it does look like he's just been healed, but yeah, I think it's gonna take a while. It's a small thing you need to learn, but learning when you can knowing how well you can heal people, how quickly you can heal people up. So sometimes just try not to use lamp. If it means your teammate dies, you learn from it. You go, okay, I made a mistake, I should have lamped there. But like most of the time, you can get away without using lamp because they're just not going to finish the kill. But the lamp is fine. They've got ults coming in the next fight, and you probably lose it anyway. You should also be very aware of this nano blade that's just about to come online. But bomb goes up. I wonder if that finds any kills. No, it does get out trance. That's a good thing to get out of bomb. But that's valuable bomb there because you've found trance. I think you could have bombed cart, bombed more in this area rather than throwing it over here. Because throwing it over here, I think when you go to bomb, you need to look at where it's going to end up. Because that Anna's safe wherever this goes. The bomb blows up here, it's safe. If the bomb blows up here, she's probably also safe. Because she can go around this corner or she can go around the other corner inside server. So yeah, it's just looking at where the bomb is going to end up. Also, I'm knowing that you had lamp, Saren. I think you've got lamp. Oh no, you've just used it. Mini dies. Okay, yeah, you've used visor. The visor usage here is not good. Although I like that, Jasper. I don't know whether it was called by Unflux for that, but I like that. That's clever. That's clever mercy play. That's smart mercy play. I like it. You've used the visor, and for anybody who doesn't know what Jasper's done, and if in case Jasper doesn't know what he's done, which I think he does because he keeps damage boost on him, rather than damage boosting the Ash, which is what he should be damage boosting most of the time, when the soldier pops visor, he's damage boosting the visor because the visor is going to get more damage off than an Ash on a basic level. Another thing I'd like to see is you two split up a bit more, because you're basically just playing the same angles. One of you can play this side of the box, because then you can see that Zen, you can see that Genji kind of thing, and if one of them gets dove, the other one can offer damage into the back of the enemy team, or into the side. It just works better if you're a bit more split up than this, because if they dive here, you're all in danger, whereas if they dive here and there's somebody stood here and there's somebody stood over here, they're not going to dive here, they're going to dive either there or there, and either way one of you is safe and can help the other, back the other up and kind of just put damage into their backs and stuff like that. Just gonna quickly Unflux screen for Jasper. Yeah, well, there you go. Jasper, there you go. If Unflux has called for it, it's a good call. But Jasper, I mean, sometimes you don't get a choice if you're gonna get screamed at or not, because you are the support. But when you're on Mercy, just have that thought going of, okay, we're running Ash Soldier. When the soldier gets visor, I'm going to damage boost that visor. Or if the Ash is dead, I'm going to damage boost my soldier. Or something like that. Just be looking for your DPS. And actually, I'm going to come back to the point I brought up earlier of not being in a line of sight of your enemies. Here, I know you're going to start healing your tanks. That's fine, they're both crit. And Saren clearly needs a bit of help healing them up. No problems with that. That's fine. The only problem is the Zen can see you and the Zen is loading up a volley. I'd do it from here. I don't really know the Mercy beam range, but I think you can get it off from around the corner. It's just being cautious of your surroundings, because here there's a Zen there. You've heard the Genji around here. He's gone back to his teammate, but you heard the Genji around here, and the D.Va's just being demeced. But where's the ball? Oh, he's behind cart. He's there. So this is not a very safe position. You might be able to get this Ruz off though. That's what I'm assuming you're gonna do. Saren, I want you to be aware of this blade that's going to come out. On Baptiste, you need to know when they've got blade. If they're running a Genji, it's coming back to a thing that I always bring up in VOD reviews of ult tracking. When you know what the enemy team has ult-wise, you can counterplay those ults. You can hold lamp for a blade to come out. You can hold your burst for when a minefield comes out or something like that. Or just like holding your DM for when they've got Death Blossom. That kind of thing. Everybody has it because everybody has an ult that is a threat to them. So Jasper, you've not got Valk, but if you had Valk, I'd recommend Valking when they blade. Valk is a really good counter to blade. It's a really good way to escape. It's a really good of healing up your team, and also getting a res off when the blade's finished. He can't in that second that he's putting his blade away, you can get a res off sneakily. But I wouldn't recommend it because the timings are so pixel perfect. But like, you're not going to use window, but Valk is a good defensive ult against blade because you save yourself and you get the opportunity to save your teammates. Also, knowing that there's a blade coming is knowing where the Genji is, tracking where that Genji is. You know he's going to nano blade in this next fight. I can already see the nano on him. He's definitely going to pull that blade out. He's going to dash in and get that blade off. Sarin, you want to be aware of the blade for the lamp. You want to put lamp down and give your team a chance to survive and run away. Soldier's safe from a blade, and realistically from this distance he's going to be going for you two and him, and you can drop down and jump back up. A good play here is actually lamping Unflux so Unflux stays alive, and then dropping to the low ground, loading up your boots and jumping back up. Because if that dropping to the low ground, when the Genji follows you, have your boots loaded, and if that Genji does drop on you, jump back up, because the Genji's going to really struggle having to climb this wall to get back up to you. It's kind of like predictive, knowing what your team is, what the enemy team ults are going to be playing, and playing around that, positioning like around here and forcing the Genji onto longer line of sights. Like Abra is, and playing a lot more split as well, because the blade's coming out, which is what you're doing, to be fair. You're playing quite split up, which is how you basically should have been playing most of the time anyway. Their dive is not going to go off very well. They've already lost their mech, but this is coming straight for you, yeah. And that's the thing. You've used lamp on yourself and he's just left you. He should have killed you there. He should get that kill. He should have just killed lamp and killed you. But for some reason he's very eager to get to Jasper, and you've just fucking kited him. That's actually hilarious. I hope he dies. That's unfortunate, Jasper. But that also comes down to positioning. Why have you died here? Why have you not died over here? It's harder for him to hit you here. It's easy for him to hit you here, and you could have just as easily be stunned here. It's small things, but it comes back to that same point that I said before. I'm going to be saying comes back quite a lot, because I'm going to be talking about points that I cover frequently, because you can't see the enemy can't see you, and in that situation where you flew back to Unflux, you could have flown over here and you could have got over here, and I think you would have been fairly okay. The Genji probably dies here. I don't really know what's happening in the rest of the fight. Sounds like Minis. Oh wait, no, it's Abra getting pushed. Yeah, this is a problem here, Abra. You see what you're doing here? And I'm going to watch it from your point of view. You have been shot at a few times. Reaper TPs onto the high ground and kills your Baptiste. That happens. Saren's died, that's fine. Saren, you were on low health, I would have recommended dropping down here anyway. But you died. Sometimes you just don't have time to react. The Reaper has got the kill though. And Abra, you've coach gunned into a small room. Just drop and coach gun this way. If you really want to coach gun into this corner or towards Mini. Reaper's going to struggle going 1v2, whereas 1v1 in a small room, Reaper's got you. You've basically given him this kill by standing there. The positioning from Mini is fine. Just, yeah, you're playing for cart, aren't you? You're just playing to stall cart, and the Reaper's just gone. Yeah, Reaper's just gone a manic in your backline, and we are, I think, half an hour into this, and they've only just capped second point. So I'm gonna let it run for a little bit, because yeah, we're 49 minutes into this VOD review, and or well, probably about 40 minutes into it, and yeah, we've only just finished first point. But like I said, they're a good team, so it's good to cover them. They fucked up their dive here. This D.Va should be punished, and that's a horrible pull. In this situation, you're going to be playing this Orisa for this point, most likely because of the ult bank you've got. You need to be thinking about what ults you're going to be running, and what ults they're going to have at the same time. They've got the bomb, they're coming up on Death Blossom. You should probably expect them to have Death Blossom, because it's been a while since he's used it. They've coming up on Trance, and they've got Minefield. You, on the other hand, have a lot of ults to counter that with, but you need to be making plans. You want to be playing, what, Bob Bongo or Window Visor. Probably want to be holding Valk for defensive. And then Bomb can also be used quite defensively, just to kind of stall out a fight or something like that, give you back mech, something like that. In this situation, I'm going to watch this pull. Here, Mini, you've thrown it past the D.Va to, and I think this is specifically to pull her off the edge, pull her out the room. What you could have done. I know you're stood right in a D.Va's face, which is quite scary, but there is your whole team here. You could have thrown the pull into this corner and pulled her into this mini pack. She probably gets demeched then, or she wastes all of her DM and then takes a massive chunk of damage. She probably wastes all of her DM and then loses Mac anyway if you pull her into the corner. Just a small kind of thing of picking her off and noticing, oh wait, her team isn't here, I can pull her into this corner. Or when she tries to escape as well, if she's come here, you've obviously already pulled her out, but she's stood here, she's going to try and get out, you can just pull the floor. She doesn't, sometimes she can't DM you. I mean, it's like a May Blizzard. If you throw it at your feet, the D.Va can't eat it. And so you can throw the pull at your feet and she might not be able to get that eat off, and then she gets pulled back into the room, she has no DM and she gets demeched anyway. Just a thing of punishing that positioning, because she should have got punished for that position there. I like the marking from Mac coming through. Just be a bit quicker on that reaction when you hear the D.Va boosters coming off and the blade and stuff, the dash and stuff. Just to look at your teammates. Their minefield here is quite good actually. Your supports are here. What you guys are doing here, I have no idea. You should be playing Spaceship. You should be over here. You should have been here all times. Lamp has somehow made it up here. And I really hope Abra doesn't die because he walks out of Lamp, but I'm almost certain he will die because he walks out of Lamp and both of you guys are down here. Yep, there he is. He walked out of Lamp and died. Yeah, you guys shouldn't have dropped. You shouldn't have been on low ground in the first place. You should have been here. But this fight still looks winnable. You can just kite, especially with Minefield. Okay, I'm not going to pick up on it. Bomb coming in. I like the bomb, to be fair. I like the bomb to try and contest point. Clears out mines, kills the bull. You win this fight now. Zen dies, and you see how much damage that Zen did to Minnie there, and you can probably kill that Ana before she gets out. No, oh well. It's fine, sometimes you miss shots. Yeah, reset. Where's Minnie? Where are you? Oh, you're going high ground. Nice. Nice. All of you. What I want to see, Abra, is don't use Coach Gun to go high ground. You should be rotating with them. Go with them, and then you can... Coach Gun's such a good defensive tool against their composition. By rotating high ground, you get to walk up here and then use Coach Gun at a later date. Or use Coach Gun earlier, sooner rather than later, because this is too late now and you don't have Coach Gun. That's a nice kill from Unflux. Unflux on a really... Actually, that's a nice angle, because you see what you're doing here is you're watching your team's back while they can watch your back. If you get dove here, their team's feeding. If they get it and they can't commit a dive onto your team without you being able to shoot at them. It's a good position, this. For Soldier anyway. You're also just as good stood here, but yeah, that's a good position, and you punish the Reaper because of it. what I want to see Jasper do, though, is find his Ash. Which, Abra, I don't know why the hell you're over here. You should be playing with your team a lot more, or something else. Mini, you didn't need to drop there. There was just no need to drop and give high ground. You win the high ground fight when they've got no repo in your face. There's not really that much that's scary, and now you've just given them that high ground position for no reason. Abra, there you go. You see the value of the coach gun there. They throw the bomb out, and there's the Death Blossom. It's just a combination of things, but the big thing that's lost you this fight is you've given away the high ground. You've given away this position. If you had managed to stay here, that Reaper probably wants to drop here or drop here to get that Death Blossom off. Either way, it's very pronounced and Matt can eat it. The bomb as well. The bomb's much harder to go off in this room or out here and get kills than it is out in the middle of the open. How Jasper dies to that, I don't know. Where is Jasper? Oh, up there. Oh, you died. You both died to the Death Blossom, basically. The Death Blossom has managed. The Reaper's managed to get up here to be able to drop onto the supports and Death Blossom. That's another thing. Mac just not realising where the Reaper is, not tracking where that Reaper is when he's got Death Blossom. I know you might want to. I know you've learnt the thing about eating ultimates. But ultimates like Visor and Death Blossom are still your job. Visor Blossom, High Noon, they may not be projectiles and you may not get a cool little icon in the chat when you eat them, but they're very, very important to be eaten. Death Blossom especially is a powerful ult. It does a lot of damage. It does almost as much damage as Barrage. And so yeah, it's you need to know where this Reaper is and marking this high ground. Even just standing here and knowing he's here, and again, pressuring is not always dealing damage. It can just be existing. You can just stand here for free. You can just exist here. You don't even have to shoot anyone, and nobody's coming up here. That Zen's going to be scared to come out that doorway if you're stood here, because you can just tickle him. From this distance, you can just stand here, and if he walks out, you can drop on him and burst him, and that's punishing his mistake. But you're free here. You're free to this high ground, and you could have denied that from happening before it even happened. But at the same time, the big mistake that you've all made is giving up the high ground. And yeah, there's not much more I can say there. Mac, you're going to try getting back to your team, and you've commit into the Zen, but now you're stuck in their back line and Mini's stuck over here 1v1ing a Genji. It's a very scrappy fight all of a sudden. And realistically, Mac, if you'd come back to play with Mini, you're then able to take a retake. This next fight's going to be a lot harder to fight now that you've not got Mac. With no Diva, this is going to be a harder fight. No, Saren, no, Claire, no, don't do that, never. You're the Baptiste, stay alive, play your life, let your teammates die. It's not your job to touch cart. If the point gets capped, it's not your fault. If you stood here and you just shot down and healed Abra and Jasper, I like the Valk actually. I like the Valk Visor. It's a good combo, but Jasper, you need to be looking to damage boost Unflux in this situation and try and heal up your team. Mini, you should have been able to come in when Saren and Jasper come back, and I know that that's kind of a thing of you got to see them up here before you decide to come in. That's fine. You should have played this position. If they cap, that's not your fault. Play your life. Don't jump on point. Sometimes letting point cap is just way better than dying. Most of the time, actually, especially as a support. Don't worry about cart. That's your tank's job. That's your tank and DPS's job. Your job is to keep your team alive. Yeah, because now this is that Arno is in a dog shit position. She's died there. But you're really in danger here. Their Diva and Bull should have just turned on you. You should be dead. And their Reaper's just here. And so you're in a really bad position here. Jasper, you're actually doing really well here. The only difference is, actually I say really well. You're doing well because you're contesting cart. On Valk, you can contest cart from like basically where you are. This is the height of cart, and you can just sit above it. and just like sit here. But the difference is I'd like to see you damage boosting Unflux in that visor. I won't be doing another map, no. I might do another map another day, but not today, because yeah, got a scrim in half an hour. I'm going to try and get through the end of this quite quickly. So you probably win this fight actually, because of their Ana's bad positioning, and you've managed to frag, but realistically that's a hard fight to win off of how you've played it. You made that fight harder to win than it should have been. And here I want to see you retaking that high ground, and the point is Max here. You're fine chasing the Genji to here. As soon as he's out, leave him, just drop back, play cart. And you can fly up to here and play here, and then drop down to cart. But Mac, it's your job to be looking at cart. I know Unflux is looking at cart here, and that's fine. He can be looking at cart, but he can't do anything there. He's useless, whereas you're more useful. You can stand cart and do something. Unflux, you're basically taking the next fight in a 5v6, because Unflux is playing low ground. Same with Abra, to be fair. You shouldn't be on low ground as Tracer. You shouldn't be here as Tracer. At this point, you should have either between fights set up so that you can go on a flank up into this room, or set up like up here, waiting for when they come in, because they're going to push into your team here. You can set up so that that they put you on a flank. You're on a flank as soon as they take the fight, and you don't have to use any cooldowns to get onto that flank. Just like learning your setting up as Tracer. I don't know how avid of a Tracer player you are, but yeah, just know your setting up. I would much rather see Mac play here though, because the boosters are just too valuable to be able to fly up, whereas Unflux is going to struggle a bit to actually damage anyone. You can see, Abra, you're doing bugger all here. You're really doing nothing, actually. You're doing less than Unflux right now. This is going to be a hard fight, because your DPS are just so disjointed from your tanks. Again, coming down to Mac playing cart, and yeah, Abra, you're going to really struggle, because you've just not set up. And yeah, this is where this is what I don't like. Minis drop to low ground, that's fine. Saren has also dropped, but I don't know if I think you're trying to rotate to the other side. If you're rotating to the other side, do it quick. You were too slow. They're going to catch you on rotation. Saren's going to get caught out here by this D.Va on rotation. It's going to be a really hard fight to take. The bomb coming out, that's clearly because you're eager to get the bomb out, but I would use the window first. Use the window basically before that ball can get pile driver off. You can use window while minefield sits there. Window isn't effective by how close you are to it. So yeah, I think using the window earlier, or even just standing on this high ground and using it selfishly to heal your team, is also a good call, because they've nanobladed into your team. And if you have a window here, it's much better. Another thing of Saren, you've just not rotated quick enough, and so you're now caught out, and you're having to waste your lamp, which most likely is going to cost Jasper his life, and probably even Abra if the Genji can get the dash off properly. Because if you were stood over here, it's so much easier to get that lamp down. And actually, if you're stood over here, Jasper. Oh yeah, Jasper. Still, Jasper, you could play this high ground. You could play on these boxes. I love this position actually. On Baptiste and like Ana and stuff, if we're playing this bottom right, or bottom left, sorry, these boxes are so powerful. You can stand here and they can't get to you. Granted, you can't really get onto these, which is a bit unfortunate, and you are quite vulnerable from over there, but just standing on this box, you can stand here and just heal your team. And basically, if that Genji wants to get to you, he's either got to dash onto you or run up to this box and climb up and slash you. In that time you can react, whereas stood down here you're less likely to react. He can just slash dash. Yeah, which is, yeah, it's Abra and Jasper have both fallen because Saren, yeah, you've just Again, you've rotated too early, giving up the high ground, and rotated when you didn't need to. You could have played this high ground here. You could have played up here instead, and just kept this high ground, and Mini and Mac played point. And just Mini, Mac and Abra played the point, and then you guys just played up here. But yeah, we'll see. I'm going to try and go a bit quicker. I'm basically just going to try to not pause. So the Cassidy switch. Coming on to third point, you can switch off of the Orisa onto a Reinhardt if you prefer. But I want to see these ults being used because you're just holding on to them. You've not used Bongo or Window in a long time, whereas all the other ults are being used. And honestly, Abra, I'd prefer to see you go back onto the Ashe. Just way better in this comp. Where's Saren? Okay, you were DPSing when Mini got taken out. Yeah, just be looking at your tanks. Just look at your team. Because Mini, he did get chunked. In fairness, he got chunked. But he had a split second where you could have been able to get a heal onto him, and you were too focused on trying to DPS to save Jasper when Mac should have been DMing, but isn't really. Okay, I'm going to be really quick. I'm basically going to finish the defense and then I'll do the attack another time because I need to go. But again, looking at ults, they've now got Death Blossom, so Mac, I want you to be looking for that Reaper. Look, know where that Reaper is at all times. Know where he is so that you can stop him getting it off. You can fight in this corridor. Oh my god, Mini's got birds. Mini, you should have gone out this doorway. It's easier to get out this doorway, basically. Just you got your team there. You shouldn't have tried something different. Unflux is fine over there because he's got legs, he can run. But you can't run as fast. So even though you got 2 more legs than him, you can't run faster than him for some reason. So this is going to be a harder fight now, and they've got so many ults. You have managed to take out the Reaper and get that res off. There's your Bongo and Window coming out, but you've not really. They're kind of like panic ults, so it was a harder fight to take. You do win this though. Target focus, nice DM. I don't know whether you'd saved your DM or not, but you had a lot of DM there, and you could have eaten the whole. You did eat basically the whole thing. Right, last fight, and the good thing here is they've only got Nano and Minefield and Bomb. That pull is on point. I don't know if you did that on purpose, Mini, but the High Noon is up here, and the pull and the Visor as well, and they're all taking cover around here, and you've pulled them out into that High Noon. It was a really good pull. I don't know whether that was communicated or not, but that pull has just got you 3 kills, basically. Or 2 kills with the High Noon. Abra, you just play high ground, don't drop off that high ground there. You're safer here, and you can do way more from up. You can do the same amount of work up here as you can down here. The only difference is you're safe here. And that's just for like even continuous fights. If it wasn't in overtime, I wouldn't want to see you drop anyway. The only reason why it's kind of excusable is because it's overtime, but that's the difference in an overtime fight. If it's like looking umming and ahhing, if it's looking whether you like don't really know if you can make it or not, if you're going to win or not, this is like the make or break moment. This is the make or break play. If you drop here and die, you might have just lost that fight for your team. You've not, because you managed to get the 2 kills, but just try and stick to this high ground where you can, because you can do a lot more. But yeah, well done on stopping them here. I don't know if you win this. I don't think you win this map, and it's probably because of the attack. But yeah, I will be ending that there. I might try and do the defense when you're actually in the scrim, and then I'll upload that as just a separate YouTube video that you can go and watch after the scrim or something. But yeah, again, look at your team. Just be looking around. Have your head on a swivel. Be watching your back at all times. Saren looking for your flanks, Mac looking at your teammates, tanks just in general looking at your teammates, DPS as well looking at your teammates. Supports should always be able to see their teammates anyway, because they're at the back. But yeah, know where your team is. It's really important. Yeah, I've not really got much else to say, so I will just stop that there, because there'll be much more for the attack, I'm sure. Oh, and go and watch some VOD reviews from other people as well. Don't just watch me, because I'm not the smartest person. I know that. I accept that. But I do try. But like, it's also good to hear other people's point of view. And the game isn't like, do this when this happens. The game is very awareness based and decision making based. So you've got to make decisions in the moment, depending on the situation. It's very situational and very dependent on what the situation is. There's so many different situations in the game. Learning them takes a long time, and watching other people do VOD reviews teaches you them even quicker. So yeah, I fully recommend looking at other people, like Custer, Jane. Jane is old now. Jake, the Houston Outlaws coach. I know that Reinforce as well. Reinforce does some. I don't really like him. I do like him. I don't like his like coaching style. But it might vibe with some of you guys. It might work with some of you. So I definitely recommend having a look. They're usually 40 minutes to an hour long. So it's good to just have in the background while you're doing something else, and then pick up on the key points that they're saying. Or if you're like bored and haven't got anything else to do, just watch a VOD review. It's fun. Or even like going back and watching some of these VOD reviews that I've done again, if you're really that bored and want to hear my voice. So yeah, I'll be back a bit later.